Peace still, everyone. This is Tosha, and you're tuning into the Supernova Tosha Show podcast, the show that addresses social issues and how it affects our community. And so today we are going to be discussing ways where we can vanquish vanquishing poverty. So there is a Bible verse that reads, "Every man shall give as he is able, according to the blessings of the Lord your God that he has given you." This individual, Mr. Rory Stewart, exemplifies exceptional compassion and need. Now, he is a former member of the UK Parliament and UK Secretary of State for International Development. He has devoted his career to combating extreme poverty on a global scale. And so over the course of decades, his contributions have spanned various roles in public service, the establishment and leadership of non-governmental organizations, and the promotion of innovative solutions. Let us now explore his insights on addressing the issue of global poverty. Now, there's a number of people living in some parts of Africa, and they're actually living on less than $1.90 a day. And this has remained stubbornly high at around 400 million for approximately about four decades. Now, Mr. Rory Stewart is the newly appointed president of Give Directly. It's an American NGO, and it's challenging traditional aid practices. Mr. Stewart, he advocates for more direct approach, providing financial assistance to impoverished individuals. Now, by empowering people to determine their own needs rather than relying on external interventions like distributing tents or importing food, Mr. Stewart believes that a more effective and sustainable solution to poverty alleviation can be achieved. Okay, so listen to this, right? If you give a man a fish, right, you for a day, but you teach him how to fish and you feed him for a lifetime. Now, I know that some of you have heard of this idiom before. If not, some would translate it to mean that poor people are much more inclined to laziness and making bad decisions if you give them what they are lacking versus teaching them how to earn money by teaching them a skill and not always to rely on others. Now, Mr. Stewart, speaking to the UK Telegraph from a drought-stricken county in southern Kenya, he emphasizes a shift from traditional aid methods. Instead of providing tents, which recipients often sell for cash, or transporting transporting wheat from Idaho, Give Directly empowers people to determine their own needs. The organization approach is as radical as it's straightforward. So what he does, he gives each family in an impoverished community an unconditional one-time payment of $1,000, approximately 4 days' salary for a typical UN staffer. So Stewart explains cash has a multiplier effect. It stimulates the local economy. It allows people to buy materials to improve their homes, purchase livestock like cows for milk, which enhances children's education. And it also leads to better diets and fewer sick days. Makes sense. So now other agencies sometimes use counting maneuvers to create the illusion that most of their donations go directly to those in need. And I guess we all know that that's not true. However, ineffective projects, high overhead costs for contractors, and corrupt officials often deplete the resources, leading to widespread disillusionment among humanitarian workers. By effectively eliminating the highly paid intermediaries, Give Directly claims that its approach offers a better value for money than almost any other intervention. Despite this, many national government remains cautious. The international community has been promised many ineffective solutions, and distributing cash to the poor is not a politically popular decision. The question remains, can this approach truly succeed on a large scale? Well, I'm going to show you a video so you can meet Mr. Rory Stewart. And watch the video of his approach to eradicate poverty. I am 100% in agreement with him. So take a look at the video and let me know what you think.
Worst affected, where global trade has failed to make an impact, there is a new initiative to raise living standards amongst the world's poorest, giving people cash payments with no strings attached. It's called Give Directly and was started by economists from Harvard and MIT. It currently operates in 8 African nations, the United States and Yemen. And the organisation has just appointed Rory Stewart, the UK's former Secretary of State for International Development, its president. He joins me live now. Thank you very much, Rory, for joining us here on the programme. I mean, we talk about this being something new, but it's not entirely revolutionary. Just tell us how it works.
So yes, as you say, Yelda, in a sense, giving people money is one of the oldest things in the world. But as an approach to international development, it's been hiding in plain sight. Barely 1 or 2% of the international development assistance worldwide is given in the form of cash. Often what happens is that people will turn up in a community, in a rural village, for example, and experts of different sorts will decide what the villagers need, often at quite a great deal of expense. They will decide whether people should be given a bicycle or a cow or whether their house should be repaired. And of course, the revolutionary thing about cash is that it gives dignity and freedom to the individual to choose what they really need. And the very poorest people in the world really are immensely thoughtful and responsible with money, partly because they've been living so close to the extreme poverty line for so long. So our experience has been that a relatively small amount of money from Western standards can transform people's lives so much more rapidly and efficiently than many traditional aid programs.
Rory, how do you monitor it? Because there has to be a level of accountability. I mean, as you say, the world's poorest are responsible with money, but you do have situations where if there's domestic violence, for example, and the aid or the amount of cash needs to go to a woman, how do you ensure that it reaches the right people?
To do that, we have field teams on the ground, and we have completely separate audit teams who operate without anyone in the field teams being aware of their identity. They go in and they check in the villages, they talk to households, they do everything they can to monitor the way that that money has been used and to raise any concerns. But actually, to be honest, though, after almost 10 years of operations, we found that in the majority of cases, it's used very, very well, and that everybody in the household understands generally that this is an extraordinary opportunity to turn your life around. We could be, in cases of extreme poverty, in Rwanda, I saw us supporting a family that was living on $3 a month, and a cash gift, in that case of $700, allowed them to completely redo their house, get a cow, dig a latrine, connect to electricity, connect to government health insurance. All of this stuff done for a fraction of the cost which a normal agency or NGO would be able to deliver.
I mean, you're currently working in a number of African countries. I see Yemen as well as the United States. What are you doing in the United States, for example? Because, I mean, you know, you can understand Yemen, for example, but what is required in the United States? Are you looking and targeting the poorest communities?
So in the United States, yes, we are working with the poorest communities in the United States. We're doing that with American donors who are particularly interested in reaching out. And we did it initially in response to the hurricanes in the United States, natural disasters, because one of the things we found in the United States is that people were delivering things to people who'd been affected by hurricanes which were unsuitable for them. They would turn up, for example, with food when what they wanted was tents, or turn up with tents when what they wanted was food. And often, not always, but often in these cases, there are markets functioning. And if you give people money, they're able to get what they need much more efficiently than a government organization can deliver.
Okay, so that was very, very informative information. That gives you a little bit more background information of what Give Directly does, and who our steward is. And he gave an example of giving people monies that were I guess displaced through hurricanes and natural disasters. And that, when you think that this is what someone needs and you give to them and it's actually not what they need, everybody knows their needs. And, I know that I may say that just giving a person money, they're just going to blow it frivolously. But I think having been through its full COVID disaster that happened, have just kind of realized their priorities and realize what they need to do to help their families to go from one level to the next, and also to prepare for something, anything disastrous. Because honestly, um, I don't know. It's just, yeah, yeah. So, anyway, I just want to say that it's, I agree with his concept, and I do think that what he's doing is going to be more effective. Because when you think about other charitable organizations, these huge organizations that have employed, that have like the board, like the board of directors and treasurers and everything. I mean, their salaries are huge. Their salaries are 6, 7 figures. So a lot of it, goes to their salaries instead of where it really needs to go. So that's why, I support what he's doing, and I support the fact that he has a different concept, and the fact that he's giving the money directly to folks, just to make sure that they take care of their needs, because they basically know what they need. So, anyway, 5 years ago, almost everyone in the African village lived in, like fragile, leaky huts. And so they had no electricity, and the women had to walk like 3 hours daily to the nearest reservoir for water. And so most of the men, they earned an income, but the income was just a very meager income. And so, from occasional hard labor jobs in town. So the women would go and gather water, collect water. That took like 3 hours, and then the men would go and work hard labor and barely made anything. Weren't able to take care of their families. And so villagers reported that their lives were transformed overnight after receiving $1,000 in their mobile money accounts. They hired local builders to install tin roofs and concrete floors. They also were able to get solar panels and lights, allowing the children to read in the evening. And some young men attended training courses to become electricians and welders. And there's about 3 women in that village. They actually put their funds together. They put their monies together, and they were able to lay water pipes for the village for the very first time. So they say if you dream it, you can achieve it. And I think that is such a great accomplishment. They pulled their monies together and were able to do something wonderful for not just them, but just for the entire village as well. So kudos to them for being so innovative. So guaranteed basic income, which is known as GBI, has become an increasingly popular strategy to address poverty in U.S. cities as well. Now, since 2029, over 50 municipalities have implemented the GBI model, and that's offering low-income participants between $100 and $1,000 a month with no strings attached for a set period of time. And so, what sets basic income apart from traditional social services is the element of choice. The participants report using the funds for their most pressing needs, such as housing, and also for groceries, for transportation, and also for debt repayment. Typically, participants fall under the federal poverty line, and so some programs focus on specific populations, including new and expectant moms, households with children, or individuals that are experiencing homelessness. So the basic income pilots have been completed in cities and counties across various states, including Arizona, Alabama, Virginia, Rhode Island, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Mississippi, Louisiana, Indiana, Florida, North Carolina, South Carolina, Washington, and Washington, D.C. So, despite its benefits, GBI faces legislative opposition from Republican lawmakers who criticize the program as socialist and argue that they discourage workforce participation. Anywho, because if you see that, or if you're listening and talking about the unemployment rate has dropped, that's because most people are working multiple jobs, and so I'm not sure how this equate to socialism and that it discourages workforce participation. Absolutely not. I mean, for every one person that's an adult, most people are working two jobs, and I'm speaking of people from their 20s. I know people in their 20s that literally work two jobs, and they don't have children, they don't have a mortgage, they're still living with their parents, and they're working multiple jobs. So go figure. Okay, now, for instance, Iowa banned GBI in April, and the Arizona House of Representatives voted to ban it in February. On April 23rd, the Texas Supreme Court temporarily blocked a Houston area program deemed unconstitutional by the Attorney General. So, despite political challenges, basic income programs continue to operate nationwide. So if I were you, I would write your local legislative body and just let them know that you're in support for this. I feel like they just want to keep that 1%, always want to have that 1% that's making like 6, 7 figures for you to get extra money to do something for yourself, to become an entrepreneur, to buy something that you can invest in that'll take you from one level to the next, one income bracket to the next. It's like they're fighting for this. But anywho, when I started doing research, that's when the state that I reside, Florida, had this. So I'll be doing some more research to find out exactly where in Florida and what are the qualifications, because, if you follow anything in the news or financial news, I'm really big in finance and fiscal education. Because I also hold a license to do annuities and life insurance, and I educate folks on how to break that generational curse, I guess, of of poverty, and how you can actually break that curse. But in any case, we now that I know about this, I'll be doing some more research and kind of throw that in some of my presentations that I do, and do what I need to do for my clients, because we all need that extra step, and we all want better for our children and our grandchildren and our children's children's, and break that curse generation after generation after generation after generation. So here we are. So some of the states that participate, such as Long Beach, California, they participated from June 2022 to August 2025. They get about $1,000 a month given to low-income households. Denver, Colorado, the Denver Basic Income Project from November 2022 to July 2024. It had a varied payment structure, $800 in 800 unhoused and low income households. So unhoused just means homeless. Georgia, that has the Georgia Resilience and Opportunity Fund that began from fall 2022 to fall 2024. They were given $850 a month to 650 low-income households, and other states such as Texas, New York, New Mexico, Minnesota, Michigan, Maryland, Massachusetts, and Illinois. And I must say that this is really an awesome idea. And I hope that the citizens in America put the money to good use for a prosperous future. And I really do believe that, because you know what? If the very wealthy, they get things for free, and they hold on to their money. They hold on to their money, they hoard their money. It's actually the low class, the middle class. And I hate using classes, and I hate classing people, but the low class and the middle class are the ones that keep the economy going. That's the class that's spending money, that's buying merchandise and keeping the economy going. Wealthy people don't. They don't, and they pay the less taxes, and it's yeah. So during the COVID-19 pandemic, Give Directly expanded its efforts to assist low-income Kenyans through the Shikilia Initiative. So it's SHIKILIA, Shikilia Initiative. So they distributed cash to vulnerable communities and groups based upon the geographic targeting data. And in essence, Give Directly continues to offer financial assistance to Kenyan villages, aiming to alleviate poverty and improve living through direct cash transfers. Their approach challenges traditional aid models by empowering recipients to make their own choices with the funds that they receive. So bravo, bravo. I'm glad that I was able to find out about this initiative. And I think it's absolutely wonderful. Whatever state you're in, I would suggest that you do some more research. And if you can take advantage of this, I would definitely encourage you. To my loyal family, the Supernova Tosha Show podcast can be heard on these apps such as Spotify and Pandora, TuneIn, or iHeartRadio. The goal for me is to be on the 10 best podcasts to listen to list. So please share and subscribe to my YouTube channel and spread the word. I'm so grateful for your time. I do want to thank you for being so attentive, and I appreciate your presence. Be careful, be safe, and as they say in the islands, walk good, peace, be still.